Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. This week, we're talking about frozen vegetables. So the timing of this conversation is intentional, like all of our conversations. First, for today, it aligns with this week's episode that highlighted a theme from year one of Salad with a Side of Fries, which was focus on the fundamentals. And second, because this summer's Cyclospora outbreak had people sending me messages almost daily, wanting to know what to eat, how to get their greens in, and frankly, just wondering if it was safe to eat salad again. Well, the plot twist people weren't expecting me to say was focus on the freezer. Frozen veggies and a moment like this are kind of magical. And they can be one of those tools you keep in your tool belt all the time. So typically, vegetables that are going to be frozen are harvested at peak ripeness. So they likely stay connected to the vine longer than some of your grocery store's fresh vegetables, which may increase their nutrient density. Then they're typically blanched, which means they're put in boiling water for a minute or so and then dropped in an ice bath to stop the cooking process. From there, the veggies are frozen, packaged, distributed, all the rest of the supply chain till they get to your grocery store's freezer. With this process, if the produce was contaminated with Cyclospora from maybe the irrigation water or even the water being used to blanch them, the boiling would kill the parasite. Now, full disclosure, this all could be a moot point because veggies known to be contaminated with Cyclospora aren't necessarily the same veggies that you would buy frozen. Like, I'm not sure anyone has ever purchased frozen romaine. I don't think I've ever seen frozen romaine. Nevertheless, I am a fan of frozen vegetables, so let's discuss why and address some of the comments that I often hear from the frozen veggie critics. So frozen veggies can be very economical and even for some, a way to go for organic options without a much higher price tag. Now, even if the frozen veggies you get are not organic, they are more economical than fresh, and they certainly have a longer shelf life. The blanching of the veggies before they're frozen can help remove dirt and germs from the skin, and it can also help to maintain the quality. I mentioned this before too, because of when in the life cycle the vegetables are picked from the vine, they may start a bit more nutrient dense. So you can go back to our episode, it was from year one. It was way in the beginning, September of 2019. It was called GMO, Organic, and Local, Oh My. And we talked more about this. So you can go back to that. Now today, I do think it's worth mentioning that immediately freezing the vegetables after blanching them, as what happens with frozen vegetables, locks in the level of nutrients. So this makes frozen vegetables pretty close to fresh vegetables in terms of that nutrient density. You'll find studies that say fresh is more nutrient dense. You'll also find studies that show the frozen is more nutrient dense. And I think some of it depends on which vegetables. I think it depends on which nutrients you're looking at specifically, and even how it's cooked after they're frozen. So we'll come back to that in a second. I want to address another comment from the critics, which is they will call frozen vegetables a processed food. To which I say, okay, they're minimally processed and on the spectrum of whole food to ultra-processed food-like substances, frozen vegetables are not the battle I'm picking. To me, that makes progress the enemy of perfection. So with that said, 100% read the label. Watch out for those extra ingredients and additives like salt, sugar, some other seasonings, sauces, butter, garlic butter. As with everything, be sure you're reading the label. Okay, so using your frozen veggies, It seems that steaming them after they're frozen might be the best nutrient-wise. Although again, progress versus perfection, it doesn't seem to be that dramatic or significant of a nutrient difference in cooking. And frankly, again, not a battle that you probably need to pick. The big issue or the big piece to note is that how you cook or thaw or use the frozen vegetables dramatically impacts enjoyment and texture. So if you overcook them, that's when they get mushy and lack any flavor. So when you go to use frozen vegetables, add them directly into whatever you're making. Add them frozen into the soup, into the stew, into the pan of your stir fry, whatever it is that you're making, add them frozen. If you thaw them first or cook them separately from the rest of the warm dish that they're going into, no bueno. So the bottom line, Cyclospora outbreak, any other kind of contamination outbreak or not, frozen veggies are an excellent option for your focus on the foundations. Adding frozen veggies can be an economical way to increase your intake of fundamentally vital nutrients. Yes, fiber, also vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. And as we've discussed quite a bit this year and through all 7 years of Salad with a Side of Fries, adding more vegetables to your life is associated with lower risk of many conditions. Think heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, and so many more. So the next time you're at the grocery store, maybe add the freezer section to your usual shop and pick up some frozen veggies. Well, as always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. I love hearing from you. Share with us what you remember from year one of Salad with a Side of Fries. And I truly appreciate you listening each week, each year, and it means the world to me that you keep showing up. And if I could be so bold, I'd love to ask you to give back to the show that gives to you every single week. So if you're not already a member, join us in the Happy Healthy Hub. You'll go to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and above all, it does still support your health. On top of interview episodes and full videos with some behind the scenes pieces, your 24/7 Ask Me Anything on the community board, you'll get this week's recipe for cilantro lime shrimp wraps. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.